Police brutality in the United States is defined as the unwarranted or excessive and often illegal use of force against civilians by U.S. police officers. Many assume police brutality has to be a form of physical abuse or negligence. This is not true. Imagine walking around your apartment complex and you're picking up trash, and suddenly you're stopped and questioned by police officers for your activity. Suddenly you're treated as a threat, and more officers begin to show up on scene. With their hands on their weapons and coming in at full force, you are given no explanation as to why you are being treated this way. Trying to plead with the officers and explain what you are doing, you are treated like a criminal. This happened to a man in Boulder, Colorado on March 1st, 2019. He was harassed on his own property. This is a form of police brutality. Some broader definitions of police brutality encompass harassment, including false arrest, intimidation, and verbal abuse, among other forms of mistreatment. So, as we can see here, we can see that this man exhibited a form of police brutality in the form of police harassment by him being on his own property and being treated as a criminal. However, we've been seeing a rise in police shootings among citizens. In the past year alone, there has been over 1,000 people that have been shot and killed by police officers. The underlying issue is then revealed when looking at the data. The rate at which black Americans are killed by police is more than twice as high as the rate for white Americans. This issue is an everlasting lingering factor of racism still present in the United States. Race riots and police brutality have been present in the United States since the 1960s. Ironically, people like to assume that we have solved this problem and things like race riots would no longer be present. However, with the most recent police killing of George Floyd, we've seen a rise in protesting as well as petitions being processed. We should mainly be concerned that we as a country find ourselves in the same position that we were in the 1960s with little change and progress. This problem should concern anyone who hopes our country should be the one to set the standard for equality and freedom and opposes racism or racial profiling. As a nation and individuals, there's a lot that we can do to help regarding police brutality. Recently, we've been seeing an immense rise in peaceful protests. This helps shed light on the national issue, bringing it to the forefront of present national issues and to our government. Peaceful protests help bring in and arrest police officers such as the ones that were involved in the George Floyd murders swiftly, and we are seeing new bills and laws being put into place to help rectify these actions to make sure that they no longer occur in the future. Petitions are also a prompt way for the public to get their feelings across on a more logistic level. We see that by doing so that our government can start to react and make quicker decisions rather than just us waiting around for something to change. Finally, another way that we can try to help and resolve the issue of police brutality is using both protests and petitions is to change the requirements for being a police officer and requiring more training around police brutality and new courses that help deter officers from racial profiling. We would like to kind of get to the problem at the root of the issue rather than waiting for problems to develop and to get larger in the future. If we start to inhabit and put more courses into place when police officers are being trained and going through the process to become an officer, we are then able to start to rectify this issue and help police officers learn how to treat situations differently and show up differently for their community. Bringing change at this immediate level helps eliminate the quote unquote bad apples that the police forces may have or be part of. And if we do this, then we're able to sort of rectify and get back to the basics about what it is and why we truly have police officers and police forces helping us in our communities. Based upon statistics over the last 5 years, it is safe to say that another 1,000 people will be shot and killed by police in the next year. Over the last 5 years, it's been a steady incline of roughly 900 to 1,000 people a year being shot and killed by police officers. This is a drastic form of police brutality that we see, but nonetheless, it still is police brutality. These stats have been on a steady uphill climb. Evidence of police brutality that is currently present in the United States has been around since the 1960s with little to no end in sight. As a nation, it is our job as individuals to continue to peacefully protest and sign petitions to acquire change among police officers. The problem will continue to persist unless we eagerly engage and keep up on the problem. If we hope to get to a position where police brutality is no longer a drastic or an immense problem in our communities and in our nation, then it is our job as individuals and community members to keep on the path of rectifying these problems and not to let up. Our evidence in the past shows that as soon as we get a little bit of change or a little bit of progress, we start to let up on our program of action of the petitions, of the protests, and all these sorts of things. But if we, as a community and as a nation, keep on this path and keep going forward, then we will start to see more of a change in our system and how the police officers are engaging upon their jobs rather than just us getting what we want and officers getting held accountable for their actions. Rather than looking at that, we should be looking and focusing on the issue as a whole and how we hope to solve this in the future. That being said, this is a problem that can't be solved with a snap of a finger. It is something that is going to be ongoing and continue for a lifetime. So it is our job to set the standard and hold these people accountable to ensure that things and situations like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and things like that won't occur in the future. Thank you.